You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hello and welcome to the Ticket Stub, Conroe's #1 movie podcast. Everybody, welcome. Glad you joined us.
You got to go bigger. Montgomery County.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot.
Got to go bigger.
Maybe Texas. No, probably not. Guaranteed not. Glad to join us here on the Ticket Stub every Thursday at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM. We're also coming live on irlonestar.com. You can stream us. You can find us on any podcast feed. We have a YouTube channel. We got social media. For all that stuff, check us out on irlonestar.com/TTS. Connor in studio here with Chris. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Very excited about today's show.
All right. Yeah, we got a special guest we'll talk about in a second. And Dick, how you doing, bud?
Doing good.
All right. Anything new going on with the station this week?
Just we're adding more shows and,
blowing it up, huh?
Blowing it
Hey,
up.
how's our Houston TV thing doing?
It's doing well.
Have we started?
Well. We're on it.
Okay.
So we're going to finalize the schedule. I believe it's this weekend. He's supposed to send me that's Channel 21 on antenna. I asked him, I was like, is there a more sexier way to say antenna? Because
That's pretty sexy to me, I think.
Hey. We're on
well,
the
because you
antenna.
like... Yeah. Oh, here we go. I wonder how Chris is going to make this weird.
Yeah, Chris likes to make it weird. And we're joined by our special guest, Travis Champagne. Travis, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Travis is a director. He is a writer. He is an editor. He is an everything. He's a stuff. But he lives here in the Woodlands, so we're glad to have Travis with us. We're going to talk to him here in a couple minutes, really get to know him a little more. Got to watch some of your short films. Chris, you did. Dick,
Yep.
were you able to get any
I
of them?
watched a couple, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the films we saw. We're going to.
I felt really important because there's passwords.
I know. I've never done that
Yeah.
before.
I was like, ooh.
Never had to enter a password to watch anything
For
before.
your
private.
eyes only.
That's right.
Yeah, it's private, guys.
Then we're gonna later in the show we're gonna rewind movies that we've seen from the last week. We're gonna talk a little Golden Globes. We did our Golden Globe ballot contest. It's been locked away in the Lone Star Studio vault
Yes.
all week long.
Yeah, Dick forgot the combination this morning, so it took
Okay.
us a bit to get it out, but we did.
We had to break it out Italian job style, but we got it, and so we're here. And then we're gonna talk some winners and losers from the Golden Globes. Also, guys, hey, we've got business cards now. That's a big deal. That's how you know you're an official business, right? Once you get a business card.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's really when you get a DBA, if we're like looking for real answers there.
Okay, well, Dick, don't ruin it, man. Just have fun, right? We
Hire a lawyer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
When you get sued.
This is when you have a business.
so at some point, we're working out the details. We're gonna figure out a time where the Grand can give our business cards out along with ticket sales. But
Yep.
we're talking with Chris, so hopefully we'll have more information.
That'd be interesting to frame that. It's like, what's that pizza bear? That's when I first got my first lawsuit.
Yeah, that's right. Your first dollar.
Yeah.
That's
Your
my
first dollar.
lawsuit.
Your first lawsuit. I'm sure we'll have several more to come. Well, Travis, glad to have you with us today. We want to hop right in with you, man. We want to get to know you a little bit more. So first off, for everybody, may or may not be familiar with who you are, but just kind of tell us, you're not from this area, right?
No, I'm from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana.
Okay, no, kind of where, for those that don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
the Louisiana history.
That's near Lafayette, Louisiana, which is kind of, I guess, right in the middle on I-10.
Okay.
Is that before or after that gigantic bridge?
Right before.
Right before, yes.
The longest bridge of all
The
time.
Oh, my
longest
goodness,
bridge in
yes.
the world.
It definitely is.
There was a 50-car pileup on that bridge one time
Oh
when
my
I was a kid.
gosh.
Really?
Wow.
It was shut down forever.
I bet it was. So you're from Louisiana, and from watching your short films, it seems like Louisiana plays a part, or it's got some fingerprints in the stuff you make.
Well, definitely, Louisiana is truly my inspiration. At the end of the day, it's what I grew up with, what I know, and stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just shooting in Shreveport for the film prize.
Okay. And you're pretty articulate
It's all
for a
about that
Louisiana
prize.
guy. I watched that Swamp People show. Was that Louisiana? One of the guys who you couldn't understand.
It's all misdirection.
Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, it's kind of like Black Panther in Uganda.
Oh,
Right.
like there's one secret place.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha. So Travis, how'd you get involved? I mean, a guy from a suburb of Lafayette, Louisiana. How'd you get involved in filmmaking?
I don't. It just manifested. To be honest, I played sports at Cy-Fair.
Oh yeah.
State champions.
All right.
last year. I played football there and baseball, and my whole life I was into just sports.
So at some point you came this way.
Right.
Okay, when was that?
Right after I realized I couldn't play college sports.
So after that you came to Houston?
No, I was here in Houston. My parents moved here back in like '99. I went to high school here.
Okay.
That's why I moved back here.
Yeah.
I mean, Well, I met my wife, who happened to be from Houston.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
kind of
moved
brought you back.
here. And I was already like familiar with the area, so it was like being at home. It wasn't a big move from LA back here, and I came to the arts just by figuring out that's really what I wanted to do.
Now, you were in All the King's Men.
Yeah.
Yes, the Sean Penn movie. With
Yeah.
the Louisiana governor there.
Willie Stark.
Yes, Willie Stark. So I do have a question because I watched it last night, and and you just said you played sports. So did you throw the football?
I did.
You actually threw the
Yeah,
football.
I did.
Okay. If you've seen the movie, there's this part where he throws the football. You can't see him throwing it, but it's like a really awesome
A high school
pass.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
Reliving the glory
That's
days.
cool.
We're living the glory days.
So how old were you at that point? You couldn't.
I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you find yourself? Because it seems like that's one of your earlier credits.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to write. It was writing. Writing was a big deal. I mean, not a big deal, but like that was like the focus. Like, if I'm going to be a filmmaker, I don't know how to direct. I don't know how to do anything. I'm just going to write. And that's typically a lot of filmmakers where they start, right? And out of writing came acting, and then I just happened to stumble into the right casting call one day, and they were like, "Oh, you kind of look like Sean Penn," and I was like, oh, I literally had gotten that before.
Oh, really?
Once. It was the Sean Penn from I Am Sam, and I was just like, whatever, man. You know, like, that's not cool.
Haters,
You know?
man.
Yeah, you guys are haters, dude.
Seriously.
And so it just happened to send me a big paycheck one day when I did look like Sean Penn, and I went to the casting call, and I met with Steven Zellian and the writer of Gangs of New York, and he did Schindler's List,
Yep.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He directed Love Song for Bobby Long. Wait, no, Searching for Bobby Fischer.
And a civil action as well.
Civil action,
Okay.
right? And then he did All the King's Men, and James Gandolfini was in that room. Like, he was in wardrobe that day.
Really?
And I walked in, and there's Tony Soprano.
Oh, crazy.
And I was freaking out because
Yeah.
it's Tony Soprano.
For
When
sure.
you met Gandolfini, you're talking to Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
But you couldn't tell him that. That was the first thing they had told me. They're like, "Hey, don't say anything.
Don't X-nay on the Soprano.
Yeah,
way.
don't call him Tony or Mr. Soprano. He doesn't like it." But he was actually a really cool guy, and he was very much like my father, to be honest. It was really sad for me when he passed away.
Yeah.
So I just met with Zellian, and next thing you know, they were like, "Hey, you got the role." And
Wow.
that's it. That's literally all I had to do.
So you're an 18-year-old kid, hadn't really done much in the film industry yet. I mean,
No,
at least
nothing.
to get a credit.
Like, wrote my own bad script.
and then you find yourself in like in a big budget.
Yeah.
Big
First set I ever stepped on was All the King's Men.
budget. Okay.
And that's kind of what, like, I had sat down with Steven Zellian while we're shooting the scene with the grandfather
Yeah.
at that White House.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting on the porch, and he's just, like, smoking a cigarette, like, very, very Steven Zellian. And I look over at him, I'm like, you're a brilliant screenwriter. How do I make my own movies? Or how do I get my script sold, is what I asked him. And he goes, just make your own film, man. Don't worry about that stuff.
Wow.
And that's when it took off. That's when I started focusing more on making movies.
Do you feel like being in that movie has that opened? I mean, has that opened some doors for you? Do you feel like to be able to say, hey, or at least to have a credit to your name at that point, or to be able to say, hey, I was in this. Hey, I know him. Hey, I met these guys.
No, not. I mean, being a filmmaker and being an actor is completely different. Like looks.
Okay.
Two different routes.
Yeah.
You take. Actors like luck in right place, right time. Just like how McConaughey met the casting director for Dazed and Confused at the bar in the Austin Hotel. Getting discovered is really getting discovered. Being a director is like you come up with a project, you find your EP that you work with, or you write your script, and you guys find the money, and you make the movie. You kind of manifest it yourself. As an acting, you're just building momentum. In a way.
So directors usually are not overnight success like an actor.
I mean, you could be. You could luck out and kind of be like the kid who did Fruitvale Station.
Yeah.
And then he did.
Is that Coogler?
He did
Yeah.
Creed, and then he's
Creed.
doing Black Panther.
Yeah.
Right.
That's two references
Speaking
to
of
that
Black-
movie.
Yep.
Comes out February 16th.
It does. Hey, we got advanced
I have
ticket
nothing
sales.
to do with it too.
Advanced ticket sales are up.
Yeah.
Just throwing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, does it smell like formaldehyde in here to y'all?
It does. Yeah.
Is it?
I wasn't gonna say anything though. I thought you were trying to like clean with some
No, I
cleanser
saw-
or something.
Something's going on here, guys.
All right. Well, good. You're not having a stroke, so at least feel good about that. So Travis, you've directed several things now. So you sent us some links. I was able to watch The Native, and I was able to watch Rougarou. Chris, which one did you see? Either of those?
I saw both of those, and I saw Sound of Trains with Daniel Baldwin, which is awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about
It's
that
an
for a
awesome
minute. So
movie.
you got to work. So is Daniel Baldwin in the movies you've made? Is he maybe one of the higher profile guys, or the highest profile guy that you've worked with?
Everyone in so all my films have someone with like a bit of like high profile, I guess, candidacy, if you want to look at it that way.
Okay.
So no, I worked with Jonathan Bennett, who was in Cake Wars, and he's the host of Cake Wars, and he was Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls. No,
I've seen Mean Girls. Which one's Aaron?
He's the dude, the blonde guy.
Okay, I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, well,
I know
The
who you're
guy with
talking
my
about.
sister knew who he's
I know who you're
talking
talking
about.
Is the guy with the eyebrows, kind of?
Yeah,
I mean, he did have eyebrows, but
he has eyebrows.
Yeah,
Let's,
okay,
let's
well,
narrow
I know
this down,
exactly.
guys.
Do you mean the guy
Yeah.
with the eyebrows?
The guy with the eyebrows.
Well, then I
yeah.
know exactly who you're talking about.
That guy, yeah. No, Cupcake Wars, not Cake Wars. He hosts Cupcake Wars on. He was on Dancing with the Stars, so he was probably more high profile than Daniel
I think he's
Baldwin.
been in a couple Hallmark movies too.
Oh, a ton.
To be fair, I guess Daniel Baldwin is, if not by virtue of being a Baldwin,
Right.
he probably would be less famous.
Daniel Baldwin, if you're saying this after Vampires, I'd be like, yeah. He's huge.
Okay, so question.
But he's a good guy. He's cool.
Yeah, maybe a friend of yours. Do y'all still ever talk? Or
No,
Okay.
I think he got. To be honest with you, I think he got mad at me after making the movie because I had booked his first class in a non-one-way, and so he was stuck in Bush for like 12 hours. And that was just a big mistake of mine because it was the first time I've ever, booked a ticket for a, famous person.
and you didn't do it right.
I didn't do it right. I haven't talked to him since.
Okay, scale of one.
He didn't pull a Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yeah.
Well, he could have.
He
Yeah, that's
could
what I'm
have,
saying.
man.
He
He
could.
pulled that
He's
off.
Daniel Baldwin.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10. How crazy is Daniel Baldwin?
Oh,
Because I feel like all the Baldwins register on the even Alec is he registers on the crazy scale, even though he's massively talented.
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel's crazy. I think he's misunderstood.
Okay.
And in a very he's just made some bad decisions in life, maybe, or he had some hardships in life at some point, and then it just kind of all fell apart. And that happens, I get that. But he's honestly like a bro. He's like really cool.
Well, especially with your or I guess your perspective of being a director, working with people. That's what resonates long term. I imagine that's how people want to work with you. And there's not overnight successes per se, but there's also a level of respect you start earning as you keep making movies because it really, from what I've seen from successes, a creative process, because you've worked with, your actors are in a lot of your movies that I've noticed, like the Tunnel Monster.
Right.
And
Gary's in a lot of the movies.
Is that the dad from Rougarou?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And you work with those people because I imagine as a director, that's where things are out of your hands. Is you don't know how these people are going to perform.
Well, yeah, you don't know who they are.
Yes.
Sometimes,
So
how they're gonna act or what they're going through in life.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. Is you're working with Daniel Baldwin? I understand that you wrote that script, right?
I did for the most part. Me and co-wrote it with my buddy James Crawford.
And did you direct it at all, or they were there on set directing?
I directed. What do you mean, the movie or the actors?
The actors.
Yeah, I directed. I mean, you can only direct. You don't tell Daniel Baldwin how to act. You just kind of direct him in a sense that
Well, that's
you're
what I meant,
trying to capture this particular action from an actor.
Well, because through your time doing it as a director, would you say as you get more experienced people, does your job become easier or harder?
Easier. It changes per basis. Like Native was an absolute nightmare to make.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was an absolute.
Was that because you were
disaster.
dealing so much with a kid?
No, the kid was great. He came high recommended from an acting coach in New Orleans. He came high recommended from Megan Lewis, the casting director that casted 12 Years a Slave.
I mean, I think he had a good performance.
He was good, but he just wasn't in that head yet where he knew what acting really was and what he was facing as a film actor, as a theatrical actor, someone who acts on stage. It's slightly different. When you're doing film, it's more precise and more
subtle in a lot of ways.
Subtle
right?
and very kind of like exhausting.
Okay.
As an actor, it's still as exhausting.
Is it exhausting because you're doing the same thing over and over.
It's the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of head case stuff that you have to kind of keep in mind, and it's just exhausting having all these people around you at all times.
So I've heard someone say that one of the jobs of a director is really to pull the performance out of the actor. Do you believe that?
Yeah,
what's your experience been with that?
I feel like the job of the director is to just get your vision at the end of the day. Right?
Okay.
The main goal is to grasp what you want to say to people. As an actor, not as an actor, but as working with actors, I feel like actors already know how to act when I work with them, and I shouldn't have to tell them how to act.
Not me. Not me. I need a lot of help.
Well, he doesn't work with you, Chris.
Well, are you an actor? Are you an actor?
I've acted, yes.
What?
Yes.
What did
I
you
used
act?
to do a lot of stage acting, and I've
Oh,
done a
like in
couple
high
of little
school or
short movies.
something? Okay,
No,
yeah, all right, yeah, we've all acted,
Well,
Chris.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I did it
You
professionally. I
What?
did.
How have we
sure
done
did.
Chris, we do a movie show together. You
Is
have
it
to tell us.
because
Yeah.
you kept getting casted as that creepy tickle guy?
Not then.
Travis doesn't know about that.
Yeah.
There's an inside
Should I
joke about-
leave?
Yeah, you might want to scoot over a little
Unless
bit.
you like being tickled.
I'm
So,
next
so
to
Travis, do you have one like Daniel Baldwin story you could tell us that would be funny
I
for
have
people to hear?
a lot of Daniel.
Okay, well, can you
Baldwin
pick one Daniel Baldwin story that?
I don't know if any of these are appropriate, to be honest.
Well, no cursing, please.
Okay, well, how about this? We'll go to break. When we
Yeah,
come back, we
yeah.
can see if we can get
Yeah,
if we can get a
let's do
Daniel
that.
Baldwin story out of you. We'll tease it a little bit, and when we come back, we'll hear that. We'll also talk about movies we've seen over the last week in our rewind segment. We're glad to have Travis Champagne here on the Ticket Stub.
Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. The show airs on the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio. Join hosts Courtney Galley and Brian Bondi as they chat about the Chamber's events and programs for the month and invite Chamber members into the studio to talk about their upcoming events and businesses. Learn about your Chamber with Chamber Chat every first Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
All right, back here on the Ticket Stub, Connor, Dick, and Chris in studio with our special guest Travis Champagne. If you missed the first segment, if you're listening to us on the radio or on TV, you need to go back and find us on the podcast because we got to talk a lot with Travis about filmmaking, about his experience, growing up as a director, becoming an actor, becoming a director, pulling performances out of his people. Travis, if people wanted to watch anything you had, or if people were interested in finding out more about you, where would they go?
You can go to primadonna.film, which is Primadonna is my production company, and then 3 of my 4 short films that are currently finished are distributed through Shorts HD. So they screen on the Shorts HD channel, which is on like AT&T, DirecTV, and such.
So if you have AT&T, you might have access to the Shorts HD channel, and you could then stream them.
You'd have to like make sure I'm on the schedule.
Okay, you got to find them.
Yeah,
so it's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah.
Okay.
But Sound of Trains is actually online, so you can catch that one online.
Okay.
And I guess Native is online too.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, it's online more than just.
I found out. Yeah,
I broke some news to him.
Oh, no.
It was pirated.
I
online.
pirated it.
It's I think one of our actors had posted it online as his demo reel, but he just kept the whole film instead of taking his second. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Well, primadonna.film.
That's just how good it is.
That's
So
right.
you use
It
the
is
whole
good.
film as his film.
It is.
It's like how you're not a real business until you've been sued. You're not a real director until you've been pirated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there you go.
That's like we made the Out and Outs, which was with Jonathan Bennett, and Jordy Lucas was in it, and she's a young lady from the Neighbors. Have you heard of the Neighbors? Which is Australians.
No, I
soap.
have not.
It's Australia's soap. It's like their Days of Our Lives.
Okay.
And they have like 40 seasons,
Oh, wow.
like 14,000 episodes or something. And if you're an Australian actor, that's how you pay the piper, basically. You're in.
You have to go on.
And look at
the night.
go look at the cast of Neighbors, and you'll see like there's Guy Pearce, there's
Really?
Hugh
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
Oh, wow.
The I want to say the Thor.
Chris Hemsworth?
The
Yeah.
Hemsworths. Yeah, the Hemsworths.
Mel
and then-
Gibson.
I don't know if Mel made it. I don't know. He might have been too big.
Yeah. Too
but
big too soon.
but she was in it, and she came and she played our female lead, and I noticed after making it, we would go to like pirating sites that were Australia based, and the out and outs was pirated
Because people liked her.
because people liked her. Because they were like, how do we see the next Geordie Lucas movie or short film?
You gotta pirate it, man. Well, don't do that. Go to primadonna.film, or what's the other one called? Shorts HD.
Shorts HD is the channel.
Shorts HD
They
channel.
they take care of all like the Oscar films.
All right, great. So, do you have a Daniel Baldwin story? Were you able to think of something that was appropriate to tell?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Just don't cuss.
I hope he's not listening.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say decent.
I did
chance.
tweet it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've tweeted him a couple times.
Okay.
He doesn't respond. But go ahead.
He praises Jesus a lot on his Twitter, though.
He does. He's
Yeah.
he's like I guess born again. He
Yeah.
I saw the wife swap version of Daniel Baldwin.
Oh, was he on Wife
Yeah,
Swap?
he was on wife swap. It was pretty funny knowing someone on a wife swap. And he I think he swapped with Eric Roberts' wife, which was like celebrity wife swap. It was pretty strange, but
Both pretty crazy guys, by the way.
yeah,
A little bit.
I could be wrong on that, but they were both on wife swap at some point. Well, I picked Daniel Baldwin up and had a Camaro at the time, so we were very like quaint and tight inside our vehicle, so I had a lot of like firsthand experience with him. And so I pick him up at the airport, and he's like super nice and super cool. And I hadn't met him once, like in previous encounters, so I was like, I already know you, you know what I mean? But he was like, who are you, you know, that type of thing. And so we get in the car, and the first thing he asked me is, he's like, hey man, is there like a Wells Fargo in town? And I'm like,
Probably.
maybe, yeah. It's like isn't that like a big bank?
It's a pretty big bank.
And I'm like,
have you heard of McDonald's? Do they have that? Do they have that here?
you know, I have a story about Chick-fil-A. I had a friend of mine who stumbled on Chick-fil-A for the first time, and he's like, man, there's this great place, it's chicken there. It's called. I go, yeah. I was like, really? I was like,
Apparently, they made the original chicken sandwich.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's like, it's called Chick-fil-A. Have you had it? I'm like, yeah, my whole life.
Yeah, it's pretty much every single place.
Yeah. But so he asked me if there's Wells Fargo, and he's like, I need to run to a Wells Fargo, and I'm like, yeah, there should be one at Shreveport. It's a pretty big city, and at the time we had iPhones and stuff, so we can look it up, and I searched Wells Fargo, and there wasn't a single one.
Oh, really?
No, not at
Oh,
all.
well, now all of our jokes seem really stupid.
Right. No, yeah,
Sorry,
no.
sorry.
Joke's
Daniel.
on you.
Yeah,
man.
sorry, sorry, Daniel. We apologize.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to go to the.
No, well, so once I told him no, he like got mad.
Oh.
He was freaking out. He was upset, and he felt lied to by Wells Fargo in a way. And
Wait, why did he feel lied to by Wells Fargo?
because they told him there was.
Oh, they
one.
told. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. that's
Can
the
you not
word.
just like go to another bank and then like
well,
pay
just to update everyone, they have ATMs and banks in Shreveport.
Well, they
now,
do
now they
Now
do.
they do.
They heard Daniel Baldwin
That's
scream.
why. That's what exactly. You know what? I heard the phone call. If I was her, I'd probably say, "Guys, we got to build a bank in West Shreveport."
They felt the wrath of Daniel
They felt
Baldwin,
the wrath of
and they
Daniel.
acted.
Yeah, they felt the wrath, and then so he goes, man, he's like, I shouldn't say this, but he goes, I need to pay my alimony.
Oh no! And he has to like wire it through Wells Fargo.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
and he's like, what do I do? And I looked, and I go, well, the nearest one's in Texarkana, and we don't shoot for another 8 hours, so
That's like an hour and a half drive.
2 hour drive, 2.5.
So did you drive him to
I
Texarkana?
drove him into there.
Dude, you got to hang with Daniel Baldwin.
So,
though.
well, for the first leg of the trip, he slept in the passenger seat. So it was just like I called my friend. I'm like, Daniel Baldwin's sleeping next to me right now. Yeah.
Like selfies over here. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
That's a creepy selfie.
Yeah.
Just gonna
hey,
point
whatever.
that out.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah. And
For
then,
what? What are you trying to achieve?
well, the greatest thing about Daniel is that he had this gift of like just bringing in a room. He knows how to bring in a room, and we get to Wells Fargo in Texarkana, and I'm like, hey man, do your thing. I won't bother you. I'm gonna go to this like grocery store, use the restroom, and shop around an antique store in case I found some cool props for the movie. And dude, like an hour later, I'm like what's going on?
He was still in the Wells Fargo.
Like, did he rob the bank? Like, it's
Dude,
the bank.
what if?
Yeah, like it's something. I'm like, I don't know this guy. Like, what happened? Why is he still in Wells Fargo? And so I walk inside Wells. I'm like, okay, I gotta go get him. I gotta go corral my actor now. And so I walk into Wells Fargo, and dude, he's in the center of the room telling stories to people, and that's just
People
Daniel
are like,
Ball.
it's like a fireside chat.
Yeah.
People are crying.
Yeah.
Like, Daniel, you
Yeah,
changed
just
my
like
life.
people that are there to just cash the check or deposit money, or were sitting around like the couch just listening to him tell stories as the bank manager was like leaning on the desk laughing his butt off. And he's just a really friendly guy who has amazing stories, and I could go on and on and on.
He has to be the perfect level of famous, where it's like people know you, but you can still live your life. You know, he's not on the cover of every magazine at every point. No, I guess he'd probably rather be more famous and have more money, maybe. But you know, it's like where you can walk into a Wells Fargo, everyone knows who you are.
Yeah.
You can just tell stories, entertain people, have a good time.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
well, yeah, people like when you're with him, you like people recognize him, but they're not sure. Like they're like, who? That guy looks familiar.
Yeah, he
know?
looks like someone.
So
I know.
sometimes he'll be like, "Hello, I'm Daniel Baldwin." He was just like, then he would look at me. He goes, "You see, I made their day. They knew I was like somebody." So I felt I would tell them, and I was like, I kind of respect that, I guess, you know. And but he was filled with. He's a good guy, you know. Like he would tell you that, like, he always does the right thing. He's not like crazy, like over the top arrogant actor who would just yell at you for getting you the wrong coffee. He's a bro.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At the end of the day, he's a bro.
Okay, so tell us about you have a film that's kind of getting worked on. It's in the can, but maybe getting reopened for a little bit, and then gonna hopefully get finalized. It's called The Tunnel.
The Tunnel Monster.
Tunnel
The
Monster,
Tunnel
sorry.
Monster.
Tunnel
Yeah,
Monster.
get it right.
My bad. I know.
Did you
I
do your
apologize.
research?
I apologize. The Tunnel Monster. Okay, I watched the trailer for it, and so when that one comes out, you're thinking maybe summertime, something like that.
I'm hoping spring. Like I'm hoping we're done April. You know, if we're not done April, we shot it in June and we premiered it in October. And then after my first round of feedback, I either decide whether or not to push it forward or fix it. You know, because it's a big investment.
Yeah.
And a better.
You want it to be right.
Yeah, you want it to be right. You feel like everyone involved in making a movie contributes as much as I do. So at the end of the day, it's only fair that I make it the best movie possible.
Yeah.
And so for this particular film, we decided to do a day of pickup shooting, and we're going to do it in town, and then we're just going to edit it and put it together. I got some audio work to do. We got a pretty awesome score, actually. We got the Philharmonic up in New Orleans.
Oh, really?
My buddy, who's a director out in New Orleans, he's just he's a musical genius. He's just brilliant, like, musical guy, you know. And I just asked him, I was like, hey man, you want to compose a score for me? He's like, yeah, I think I can get some people from the Philharmonic. I was like, dude, that'd be awesome. Yeah. So we got some sick violinists, some sick strings.
Dude, that's nothing cooler than like the string section of
very,
the orchestra.
very tense, very stressful, very, very stressful score. Very.
So it's going to be kind of a suspense thriller.
Yeah. It's
horror.
It's about a boy who finds a mask, and that mask takes him to a parallel universe where he meets a monster that in a way self-reflects his relationship with his stepdad.
Oh wow. Okay. Will there be, when that comes out, is there going to be another one of these ones that's kind of hard to get our hands on, or will we be able to see it?
That particular one isn't like claimed yet by anybody. Okay. So I don't know if they are, like, the general public, it wouldn't be online. Okay. Initially, when you do your festival circuit, you can't put things online.
Oh, they want to.
And I understand why, because they want to like present content that's brand
the festival
new.
Wants to show it. Okay.
Yeah, because they want to sell tickets.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't think we probably definitely won't put it online. But if you want to see it,
we will for sure.
Heck yeah.
If you need any,
we can do a screening at your at a theater.
Heck yeah, man.
Dude, that would be awesome.
We can do that.
We need to put that together. And if you need any actors, Chris is a seasoned actor that could be an expert.
But I need a lot of direction.
You need a lot of,
and I need line readings.
Do you need like postcards, like with like your line cue cards?
Yeah,
giant cue cards.
Just give me an earpiece.
Lots of makeup. Lots of makeup.
Give him an earpiece, and me and Dick will be on the other side.
There you go.
We'll be feeding him the line.
Yeah. He typically has like a blank head. You just got to tell him what to say.
Yeah,
it's true.
He's a very
so
clean slate.
you're the ventriloquist.
That's right.
And he's the dummy.
But we don't know where his hand is.
We don't call him a dummy.
Oh,
You're not a dummy, Chris.
We've been over this.
Hey, just to let you know, you're my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite what?
I don't know. I'm just want to let you know you're my favorite. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to do some rewinds for movies we've seen over the last couple weeks, and we're going to spend a little time talking about the Golden Globes and seeing who won the Golden Globe ballot contest here on the Ticket Stub.
For those of you who like your partners, your gumbo, and your music salty, well, we're here to help with the music. Julian Shea here, host of Lone Star Country Nights Thursday, your weekly dose of roots and Americana and all the music that makes this part of the country special. We stir in Western swing, honky-tonk, Zydeco, Texas blues, outlaw country, and put a pinch of red dirt, and then we smoke it over a slow fire. Then listen to the results Thursday nights on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Welcome back on the Ticket Stub. I'm bringing it up, Chris.
Okay.
I wasn't going to.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Chris is the GM of the Grand Theater in Conroe, a theater that I love, a theater that I live about 3 minutes from, and I visit on probably a once-a-week basis, if not more. I often go late at night, and this has nothing to do with the show, but I just want to say this. I got to air my grievances here. Your custodial staff, who I'm sure are great people, and I'm sure that they work hard and do a good job keeping the theater clean, they don't care about the last show of the night people.
I don't think any of them do. They want you to leave so they can close up.
Do. But about 30 minutes before the movie will end, without fail. See, I always close the doors when I'm walking into the theater because I'm weird and I want to be like as sectioned off from the rest of the theater.
Well, we close the doors.
Well, but I always close the doors. But then they,
okay.
when I walk in,
you know what's funny is this isn't the first time you talked about how you have these ticks
I'm a
going
crazy
into it.
person.
I mean,
I know.
this isn't the first time.
Like on our early shows,
It's the way of the future.
Yeah.
Way of the future.
But they'll open the
way
doors.
of the future.
They'll open the doors and they'll start shaking those trash bags out, and it's like super distracting. So I just want
to let's be clear. This is not my staff. This is a janitorial staff.
No, but
that comes in after our guys do our stuff. But yes,
correct.
I'll pass that along.
Pass the word along.
Yeah.
I'm going all the way to the top.
Just like the director of a film, he gets the blunt of all the blame. Okay,
Yeah.
so he knows what's up.
I'll give him a line reading on how.
Thank you.
He gets the blunt.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
I'll give him the line reading on how to shake the bags out.
That's right. Well, how about they shake the bags, then open the door? It would be a nice, change the order of operations here a little bit. And
I will.
I just
no.
Can you?
It's a very important thing.
Next thing we see in the Montgomery County Police Reporter is a man escorted out of movie theater, lost his mind for someone shaking a trash bag.
Well,
I recognize
that's a legit complaint.
I recognize that I'm a crazy person. Okay, so I realize that, but I'm just not for me, Chris, but for the other people.
Definitely.
For the little man.
I guess it is kind of odd if you think of, like the late shows. I imagine there's always once a week. There's like you're the only person in the theater.
Yeah, last night there was two. It was me and one other guy.
And like yes, those are the most high demand audience members. Apparently,
I have a lot of
they're the most uppity.
Hey,
right.
can you turn this up? Yeah. Turn it up.
Anyways, just
is that how it works over there? You can shout out the projector. You shout them out.
Sometimes people will call during the movie. To the box office, like while the movie's going on, they'll just talk on the phone saying, "Hey, can you turn this up? Hey, there's a guy making noise." And
hey, there's a guy shaking the freaking trash bags. That's what I'm gonna start doing.
You're on the phone, call. I mean, you're not helping. But we have guys that walk around and check for that.
Okay, well, the trash bag thing would be nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna get back to the show here.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back to the show. We're gonna rewind movies that we've seen from last week.
I really hope the next time you go in, there's a picture of your face, and it's like just don't make eye contact with this guy. Just let him come in.
You should ban him.
He's worse. He's worse than Daniel Baldwin.
Don't you dare.
All this.
Don't you?
Your nickname will be the trash bag guy.
Yeah.
And I won't tell anybody
why. The trash man.
This is a trash bag
so
guy.
We're going to rewind movies that we've seen from the last week. We're going to get started here. So I've got one. Dick's got one. I think Chris maybe flex here. Travis, do you have a movie to talk about? Do you have something you could say that you've seen in the last couple weeks?
I saw I, Tonya. And,
okay.
The Disaster Artist.
Okay, well, talk a little bit about Disaster Art. I talked about I, Tonya last week, I think.
Okay.
So what do you think about the Disaster Art?
I liked it. I mean, it was pretty. The attention to detail was pretty spot on as far as like making the room. I guess again, remaking the room. And Franco's performance as Tommy was almost as good as Marv's performance in Sin City. He was Tommy. At times I was watching it thinking, wait, that's James Franco.
Yeah.
So I thought he was pretty solid at it, man. He deserved that award.
Yeah, one of the things I loved about the Disaster Artist was at the end when they showed the side by side cuts of how they. And I want to know how much of the room did they actually film.
I wonder if there's a version of the room that they shot the whole thing.
Exactly, because that there was more than what they had in the film. There had to have been some
that conversation came up with let's remake The Room. And it started off as them making The Room versus, making a movie about making.
Wasn't it based off the book though?
Yeah,
that was the whole idea,
right? But come on.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have the set and everything done,
You're gonna let's remake The Room.
You have the set, the actors. It's not like it would take a long time because you wouldn't one take is probably enough in a lot of those scenes unless you're laughing or something.
Well, but you could tell to match that movement completely over and over again requires multiple takes.
That's true because it was like spot on timing.
It was pretty close. Yeah, it was pretty close timing, movement, everything. It's like they became their characters.
Yeah, and then Franco won the which award did he win?
Best comedy.
Best actor in the comedy. Yeah, and so I definitely think that he was deserving of that.
Yeah,
as well.
my wife. I was at the Saints playoff game that day, and I'm a huge Saints fan, and that's way more important to me. But my wife called me when I got in the airport, and she's like, "Oh, Franco won." She's like, because she was really excited because after watching The Room, I just told her, I was like, "Man, he might get nominated for an Oscar for that film because he really looked like and acted like Tommy."
Yeah, definitely a great job. The Room, recommend it. You
would? Yeah, sure. It was pretty cool.
Do you think it breaks the Tropic Thunder rule, where you just never go full retard?
Not in this case. Not in this case.
Don't drop a hard R.
Yeah,
okay?
man, that's pretty.
Well, that's in the movie. There's context to it.
But
see Tropic Thunder and don't get mad at me, or complain on our Twitter because I don't handle our Twitter.
Well, but Tommy he's definitely not retarded. I mean, he's just
he might be an alien. My wife thinks he's an alien.
Yeah, he may be. Yeah, nobody knows where the money comes from. Just from outer
what
space.
Country he's really
like a
from.
lizard. The lizard people. He's like a lizard person.
Well, isn't he from New Orleans?
He said he's from New Orleans. There's no way.
There we go.
He's from New Orleans. Yeah. Like whenever the Dave Franco's character was calling him out on being from New Orleans, I was like, exactly, call him out because that is the worst New Orleans accent I've ever heard.
That's funny. Well, I saw a movie this week called Darkest Hour. Saw it last night at the Grand Theater as they were shaking trash bags loudly.
Yeah. It's adding to the atmosphere.
In a pinnacle scene. Darkest Hour, it's in theaters now. It's rated R. It's directed by Joe Wright. He did Pride and Prejudice and Anna Karenina and a bunch of those other kind of movies. Starring, it had Gary Oldman was Winston Churchill. And Ben Mendelsohn was kind of like the naysayer guy. Lily James, who was from Baby Driver, she was Deborah or whatever her name was, Deborah. And anyway, she was kind of the typist or the secretary. Story of Winston Churchill. Basically, it was World War II as things were at the very worst. It seemed like Hitler was going to wipe out all the British forces. Luckily, I'd seen Dunkirk earlier this year because I don't really know that much about history. And it was basically all surrounding, it was kind of like the other side of Dunkirk. So the movie Dunkirk was all the soldiers trapped on the beach. This was all the guys in the war room talking about how all the soldiers were trapped on Dunkirk beach and how they were all about to get wiped out and stuff.
You think they can intercut it as one movie?
I think they should. It would have been more action-packed for sure. Yeah. This was definitely
a really long.
Yeah, This was a full-on, drama. It was slow at times. I mean, the definite takeaway here was Gary Oldman. He was awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was he better than The Crown?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
I think so. See, honestly, I thought I liked The Crown. I thought John Lithgow was maybe a little bit distracting. I don't know, just his mannerisms were kind of over the top.
I think do you know anything about Winston Churchill? I don't know anything.
A little.
I know he smoked cigars.
Yep.
He liked to take baths, apparently.
Yeah. And I think the Crown did.
Don't we all?
The Crown did a better job of. They had more time was part of it.
Right. Sure.
And so I think he did a better job of some of that stuff. And they tried here in Darkest Hour to go into some of his craziness and things like that. I just think, I don't know, I think Gary Oldman was a little bit more, and maybe he was worse, but he was more subtle with the way that you incorporate. Sometimes when there's mannerisms of a character, then the actor, almost takes them a step too far, in my opinion.
It's all Joker with it.
Yeah, a little bit crazy. And so I think Gary Oldman did a great job kind of making it real, almost like how a real person would act. And whoever did his makeup and everything, it was awesome.
Yeah, he's unrecognizable.
I know it's cliche, but very often was forgetting who it was, And so
cliche. That's fact. Man.
Well, okay, there we go.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's right. But I forgot. It was a good movie. I wouldn't say it was a great movie. I think his performance was great, and he deserves to probably get nominated, maybe not win.
He won.
Yeah, he won. Yeah,
but he didn't deserve it.
He didn't deserve
That's
it.
what he just said. I'm just letting you know.
well, first
That's
off,
the next.
Are you
segment.
kidding?
That's the next.
Look at his
segment.
body of work, and he hasn't won anything, has he?
Well, I guess I'm thinking more towards the Oscars, where there's only one category for actors. Golden Globes, they have a couple, so there's a little bit more opportunity.
I don't know. It's hard to beat Gary Oldman and True Romance. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
y'all can say whatever
Yeah.
you want. Okay, I'm not the Hollywood Foreign Press.
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
Anyways, Darkest Hour, I would say go see it, especially if you're somebody like me who tries to see as many Oscar movies as possible. This one's worth your time. You're going to get something out of it. So, Dick, what about you, man?
I saw the 2012 Lay the Favorite, directed by Stephen Frears. I can't pronounce that, but you probably know him because he did Queen, The Queen. Sorry, the movie with what's her name, the Marion whatever. High Fidelity. That's the reason I remember because he directed High Fidelity.
Okay.
The Queen's the one that won all those awards.
Yeah.
From those
I
stupid
remember
awards
The Queen.
stuff. And he did like Gumshoe, which is like in the 70s a pretty popular detective with Albert Finney. But I was like, okay, cool. This movie's gonna be all right. I watched it with family, and it was awful. Don't see it. It's on Netflix if you want to waste the time. It felt like one of those movies that the screenwriter had a good idea, but then it got passed through like 3 or 4 people, and it didn't have any focus. Like I didn't really care about any of the characters, and then the things that they lead to in the trailer or lead to in the very beginning never grow into something that you think would grow. But it had a good cast. That's why I was really surprised. It had Rebecca Hall, who's somewhat famous, but Bruce Willis is probably the most famous person in it. Joshua Jackson, and then Catherine Zeta-Jones is in it. And I was really surprised of how crappy that movie was from all the players involved.
Well, the poster's really bad. The poster's one of those ones that makes
Yeah,
it seem like it's
I
like
don't.
slapstick.
I don't think they knew what they wanted
rom-com.
it to be. I bet the people who were in the marketing were like, "What kind of movie is this?"
all
And
the time?
Yeah.
and because especially a lot of the scenes are really funny, but then you're like, but as a whole, you're like, "What's really going on
Well,
here?"
when the movie's like generally not great, the people who distribute it think, well, how do we get people to watch this?
Yeah, we want to get in.
You change the cover.
So you do something totally different. And I guess at your level, you have a lot of control, probably.
Yeah, I do what I want.
Yeah, but then at the when you start getting studios
They do what
involved,
they want.
They do what they want. So,
Well, this definitely has that curse.
Yeah.
Because the first 30 minutes is pretty interesting because you get into the world of how Las Vegas handles the legality of gambling and bookies. And then they kind of touch on like why New York it's legal and all these other places,
cool.
but how they do it online, how they do it in Las Vegas. So, for example, I didn't know this, but for his company, Bruce Willis is a professional gambler. And what he does is he gets these underlings to deliver the money and place the bets for him in person at the casinos. So he doesn't have to. He can't be everywhere at once, and he's placing so many bets to lay the favorite. The title of the movie, and so that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, that's cool because he's making a lot of money, losing a lot of money, but he also has to trust these people with $80 grand, $100 grand, like going to the casino and putting it down.
it's also interesting, like as an actor, you're really trusting the director and the editor to make
Sure.
You don't always know what movie you're making. You may think you're making one movie.
I mean, I can't believe, I can't tell you how many times actors have told me, I'm just glad you finished your project.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have something that is, getting into small festivals or big festivals. As an actor, you have no control at all. You think you do, but you don't.
And I guess you're getting paid, but at the end of the day, you want your stuff to, well, maybe not.
Yeah, it depends.
And then what's really frustrating is sometimes the studios will have final cut and final say and things like that, and they'll be able to even come and trump the director.
So with All the King's Men, for instance, that script was completely different than what they actually released.
Okay.
It was way more metaphorical. It read like Steven Zellian. When you read his scripts, they're like works of literature. They're very hard to read because you got to be very smart to read them. And
Whoa, big statement.
yeah.
So what are you trying to say?
Yeah, we could not.
I'm not saying you guys couldn't read it. It's just saying it's just they're just written well.
And then it turns out a little different by the time it.
Yeah, well, they took out the beginning. They took out his beginning. He had this metaphorical message with a figure walking on the road, and he stumbled. He's
Was it like Prometheus?
I guess maybe the government version. But my point is that script read a lot better than what actually it was made or edited. But I know they cut it down. Okay. I know that. And then the end of the movie in the script, it kept going for another 10 pages.
So maybe Lay the Favorite. Maybe we don't want to put it all on the director. Maybe he got a little,
You gotta blame somebody.
Well, that's true.
But you can blame the director. It's fine.
All right. Well, from a director, we will blame him.
I mean, here's the thing: if I'm going to make a movie, I have to expect critique, criticism, people not liking it, people liking it, and people hating it. I mean, I made a film, The Out and Outs, and I literally got sometimes you send these movies over to festivals and you'll get feedback, right? And you'll get 50 individual little
good job,
just I liked it, or like a paragraph explaining why they didn't like it. And I mean, some people can be harsh, especially I'm an amateur at the end of the day. I'm still learning. Out and Outs was my second film, and it's made technically good, I guess, but it was very cheesy and ham-fisted is what he called it. And I had to look that word up. I was like, what does that mean?
It's always bad when they insult you with words you don't know.
I know. I was like, oh my! I was like, God, man, it's just a movie.
Chill out.
Well, one thing I will say about The Lay of the Favor that was somewhat interesting is based off a true story.
Okay.
And when that came into play, that's when I was like, oh, so they have to work with something.
Right.
And that kind of it really.
Well, sometimes your life story is not as interesting as you think it is.
Yeah, that's basically what I felt.
Inspired. That's why you got to be inspired by it.
Based on a true story.
All right, well, we got to transition before we run out of time. We want to do Golden Globe. So first off, most importantly, we got to check in on our Golden Globe ballot game, because we have got the Golden Dude who has got to be given away to the winner.
Show it
Travis,
to the people.
This is this right here is the Golden Dude. According to Chris, it's a solid 9-incher. That's what he said last week.
Sure is.
And so we're excited to give the Golden Dude out.
Beautiful.
So Chris, talk us through how it went. Were any of us good? Did we get anything close to right?
No, we weren't very good.
Okay.
Well, I did declare that I didn't see probably any of the movies before I did that.
Right.
If they did a Golden Globes of movies that were 25 years old and bad, Dick would be pretty good.
I'd be all
at that.
over it.
Yeah.
You know what I found out too? That Mom and Dad movie, Nicolas Cage, directed by the dude who did Crank. So it's going to be a little,
Dude,
good,
it's
a little
gonna
bit
be good.
better.
Okay. All right. So what's up with the Golden Globes?
All right. So the winner of the Golden Dude will stay.
Well, hold on. Do third, second, first. So we
third.
Or do third first, so we know who's not.
All right, fine. You were third.
I was.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
Okay.
That really hurts.
Sing.
And okay. So first runner-up, is that what we're
No,
doing?
now you should probably do first. That way,
Okay. So the winner
this is how they do awards.
of the first annual Golden Dude competition is Dick.
Oh!
Yes.
Ooh, going in blind, baby.
Yeah. It was 10-6. So it was a handily.
What he had 10, you had 6.
Yes.
And what did I have?
What did
He had 5.
Ouch.
So
You also
overall?
Overall, we guessed on every category.
Awful.
How many were? What was the total?
How many categories were there?
There were
It was like
20 something.
5 out of 20.
Yeah.
Shut up! You don't know me.
I think it's pretty
it's
funny
like
that
25.
what's great about it is I bet you he saw probably 70% of them.
I was too close to it. I was way too close.
Well, you
It's
did
too
really good
personal.
in the television side of it.
Well,
You
what did you pick for best?
Here, let me see. Where's my
Well,
ballot?
see, the strategy I had is you got to be political now in Hollywood, so
Right,
you just pick
sure.
whatever the most political thing was,
Good strategy.
and then they're
Let
gonna
me check this
award
out.
those people.
Hollywood's
Okay.
tripping over.
I got
its
Best
own nose
Director,
right now.
Guillermo del Toro. Got
That's
that.
easy. That was easy.
Well, okay, stop it. Best Actor in a Drama. I went Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, which I hadn't
that's
seen.
That's a fair.
Best Actor in a Musical Comedy.
Hey, let me see mine. I want to see mine.
I was a little jaded because
I don't even remember.
Dude, I freaking love The Greatest Showman. Okay, and call me whatever you want, but I went Hugh Jackman for actor in musical comedy. Actress in drama, Meryl Streep for The Post. Hadn't seen it. That one got wrecked, and that didn't win anything. The Post.
Did it?
Yeah.
Did it get good reviews or?
Well, I think Hollywood loves it because it's about how brave they all are to be journalists and stuff. And I was like, the Hollywood Foreign Press is gonna love this crap, you know? It's like, oh, the journalists saved the world.
Yeah.
And it didn't win a single thing. I did get Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird.
Yeah.
That's how you her name.
I think it's like Charisse.
No,
or
it's like
something.
Saoirse or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't know because they said it several times at the Golden Globes. I thought
They're
it was
probably saying it wrong.
Here comes their
surely
Ronan.
Surely they practiced, right?
Is that why you watched it so you could see how they pronounce it?
I was like, how'd they do it? Well, it looks like
She is third down on the program. That's how you pronounce her name. Third down on the program, page 2.
All right. Also, animated feature Coco. That would have been one of my locks, but I got that one right. I pretty much suck. I thought I was decent at this. 5 out of 20. Screw this game.
Well, the
The Golden Dude's stupid.
Hey, hand it over.
The Golden Dude's stupid anyways.
You should do the Oscars.
Here you go, dude.
We are the Golden Dude. It's like the Stanley Cup.
Dang it.
So it comes back out for each award.
Yeah,
show.
Oh, it moves on.
Yeah,
So you're
so-
gonna hold it for it's like a belt.
Enjoy it for a month, Dick. Enjoy it for a
Until all
month.
the fake gold rubs off on it. To get another one.
Did you get that in the Hollywood souvenir store?
Yeah, he bought it on Amazon. Yeah, but you need to find a place where you can like write your name on it or something, so we can like keep track of who's owned.
You need just a plaque
of who's owned it, when, and everything like that.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, I wanted to talk winners and losers of the Golden Globes, but we kind of ran out of time. I'm Chris, I think me and you were the only ones that saw it. Was there any big takeaways for you from the Golden Globes?
Yeah, I was mad David Harbour didn't win.
Okay.
For Stranger Things.
Okay, just what was that for?
Best supporting actor.
Okay,
Yeah.
which one was he? Is he the sheriff?
Yes, yeah, the sheriff. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that was your big takeaway.
Yeah, he's awesome in that show. I don't know.
Okay.
What
won?
happened?
Alexander Skarsgård from
Yeah.
Big Little
Oh,
Lies.
yeah.
Oh,
I
my
told
wife
you.
would agree with you.
I knew that was going to win everything.
Big Little Lies did. Is that how you won? Did you vote Big Little Lies on everything?
Yeah, well, because it's crap. And I was like, they're probably going to love it.
Oh.
I saw it. I was kind of like...
my wife is not like you right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Wasn't it
I
about
watched
abuse?
the whole thing, and it was like, it was, but then it got... I told my girlfriend, because it's based off, or fiance, I'm sorry. It's based off of
taking it
a
all.
book.
You're done, dude.
Well, it's based off a book, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna continue the story." I'm like, "There is no other story."
That's it. Right?
That's
Like
it.
Game of Thrones, right?
Gotta
But
make
they're
that money.
making another thing, and I was like, "Well, it's gonna be even more crap." But
My wife liked it. She
Well, I
thought
think
it was
most people
awesome.
did. Yeah, Dick's not a real great judge necessarily.
She watched it in like a day, like all of it. And
Well,
I got out of my editing room. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are you still watching this one show?
it was well acted. But
She
I
loved it.
thought the plot and everything, it was just kind of like, I'm not really interested in this. kind of
But you
stuff.
know, it's like she loves This Is Us, and I'm just. I mean, I can respect it, but it's not my thing. So you know.
It does have that family dynamic
Yeah.
to it.
Pretty much
in a way.
everybody involved in it. Everybody involved in it won an award. It seems.
Yeah.
Like. So that was definitely the big winner. I think is
Big Little Lies.
And I got in trouble though.
Pretty
'cause
Little-
I was
Big
like,
Little
"Were
Lies?
you-"
Pretty Little Lies, right?
Pretty Little Liars is the
Yeah,
stupid-
and that's what I thought it was at first.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, why are you watching Pretty Little Liars? She's
Yeah.
like, it's not Pretty Little.
No, it's Big Little Lies.
You know who directed Pretty Little Lies?
Not
Big
I know.
Li- Big
Big
Little-
Little Lies or Pretty?
Who did? Oh, so I'm reading the wrong.
You
thing.
mean the Dallas Buyers Club guy, right?
Yeah, no.
Wild and all that. Yeah.
Not the guy who I was going to talk about.
I told her. That's why I released that info to my wife, and she was like, oh yeah. And she was like freaking out about it.
Anyways, we got to wrap it up
It
here.
sucks.
We got to wrap it up. The Golden Globes, it was a big statement, and we don't really have time to talk about it. Big statement for women. They were, they showed up in force. They're standing up against.
I do have to ask that question.
We
though.
don't have time to ask the
Well,
question.
the next
Okay.
show we'll ask is I felt it kind of odd that the Lady Bird director wasn't even considered, even though she was not. The movie itself was nominated for screenplay, actress, supporting.
I mean,
Well, Natalie Portman got her joke in.
Come
Did
on.
you hear that?
Yeah.
yeah.
But, well, I
but
mean, I
like Lady Bird, no.
Well, I
like
feel
the vision involved to make those movies those guys made are a lot
And,
different.
and, and what I didn't like about what Natalie Portman said is I feel like it sucked the joy out of the win for Guillermo del Toro, who's
and how many men directors have propped up your career, Natalie Portman?
Come in with some heat, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, people just want to make movies.
Yeah.
and that should be what's important, not what awards we win.
Yeah. Well,
we hope.
Well, next week we'll have to go a little more into detail with that about how we feel about some of the female representation, female empowerment at the Golden Globes. It was definitely a big moment. Oprah, hopefully she won't be our next president, but everyone's talking about that now. We want to wrap things up. Thank you everybody for listening. Travis, thanks especially
man.
for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Yeah, we definitely loved it, and we hope future success in everything you
thanks.
do. Everybody check social media
Hey,
if you want to see our.
I don't get to give a thank you speech.
Actually, the wrap it up music has already started, so.
No, I'll just pull a Del Toro thing. It's like, hey, give me a minute.
Yeah,
I'd wait 25 years for this.
Shut that music off. Everybody, check our Twitter, and we'll talk about how we're going to give away tickets to the Grand this week. And make sure you're sticking with us next week. We got more stuff to come on the Ticket Stub.
This award goes out to all those who are filling out your Scantrons and don't know your answers. You can win sometimes. That's for those guys right there.
You got to put that.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.